101 review. Book 101 is all about the books that I've read for the last 4 years. And today I have my special guest. She is the founder of the Blue Run Book Group LLC, and of course, award-winning author and best-selling author too, no other than Miss TL McCoy.
Thank you for having me on your show. I really appreciate it.
Welcome to Book 101, Miss TL. Can you please introduce more about yourself?
Sure. I'm Tam. I'm TL Mccoy. That's my author's name. And what I do during the day is I'm actually a nurse. I'm a psych nurse, but was writing a suspense thriller when I came across a statistic about there not being enough inclusive books, and I have a grandchild with Dravet syndrome. That is a rare and sometimes catastrophic seizure disorder. And I think the statistic I read was in the area of 3.4% of children's books feature a disabled protagonist. And for me, that was a major problem. So, and that was the last statistic that I haven't verified if it's changed or anything like that. So you could always do that kind of research yourself. But when I saw that, I felt like it was very necessary for me to put the adult book that I was writing aside and get to work on children's books that are more inclusive because there's clearly a problem with that. So that's what I did. And I started my publishing group, Blue Round Book Group, to to really get this book out there to the public as quickly as possible. Blue Round and Delilah versus the Ghastly Grimm, which is the middle grade fantasy book that I wrote. It's very high concept that kind of merges uh, what children with seizures would go through along with a fantasy world. It's about a young girl who, after a life-threatening seizure, an indigo door opens in her mind, and she travels through the door and is catapulted into this magical world of wonder and excitement, but also danger. And then back on Earth, so it's a dual. Back on Earth, what's happening is she's put into a medically induced coma to control the seizure, which basically traps her in this dangerous world where she has to tap into the powers that are tied to her disorder to survive. And that is kind of the premise from the story. And I wrote it for my grandchild who has a seizure disorder, who was diagnosed with Dravet syndrome. These kids experience quite a lot. Some of them don't don't live past their 20s. I think the last statistic I read, and again, this would have to be verified, was in the area of 10 to 20% don't. So when I came across the research where there weren't enough books out there for disabled children, it started to kind of eat away at me, and I wanted to do something about it. So this is more than just me opening an LLC, a publishing group, or writing a book for middle grade students. It's more of a passion and a mission for me, this particular book, so that I can get books out there for children who have disabilities, not just children who have disabilities. It's really written kind of like for fans of Percy Jackson, where there's a lot of action and adventure. But I wanted children with disabilities to have books where they can see themselves as the characters as well. I feel like that is important for them, just like it is important for other kids to see themselves in the books that they read. So that's where what I've been doing for the last year and a half, along with being a full time nurse. And I was previously a teacher and school director before that. So uh, educating the public and especially working with children has always been very important to me.
Miss TL McCoy, congratulations for being award-winning and best-selling author. And we are looking for more and more and more empowering books like this to come. What inspired you to pursue both writing and entrepreneurship? Did one passion emerge before the other, or did they develop simultaneously?
I feel like writing has always been something that's cathartic for me. So any kind of creative endeavor, I sometimes paint as well, and I did not know how to paint. I just kind of had a dream that I could paint. And I woke up and I got some canvas and I found that I could paint. Like it's strange because I can't really draw, but when I merge the colors together, something comes out and I paint for friends and so forth. And it's the same with kind of writing where it's a cathartic experience, like when I'm feeling down or anxious, these creative endeavors kind of serve as a release. So it definitely started with that part as a creative person, as almost like a healing thing for me. And then the Blue Round Book Group really came for this particular book. I really want this to be, because this is more of a passion related to um, my love for my grandchild. So that's kind of where Blue Round came about for this particular book, which was written for her.
Hmm. Interesting indeed, Miss TL. How do your experiences as entrepreneur influence the themes or characters in your writing?
So my experiences as an entrepreneur have been very interesting. I have definitely learned a lot over the last year. I am a new uh, publishing group. My book is that I'm doing for myself is the first one that I'm publishing, but I am hopeful that I will be able to build a nice base after we get through the launch and move on a little bit. But it's been a learning curve. I feel like sometimes the cards are a little bit stacked against uh, people who have the independent publishing houses or they're publishing the books themselves because they don't have the resources or the connections that some of the bigger traditional publishers have. So there's been a great learning curve there with regard to Blue Round Book Group, and it's going to take some time before I truly get a handle on it. But I feel like I have learned a tremendous amount over the last year about um, what you can do to really spread the word and to make sure that you have a polished professional book. Delilah versus the Ghastly Grimm was actually edited by two separate professional editors. One was a writer and a literary agent, and then the other one was the actual editor of The Hunger Games, because I wanted to really make sure that if I was going to do this project to start a company, that I am doing it right. So I'm working on trying to make this company and the book the most successful that it can be, and also then hopefully help other authors who haven't had a chance to express themselves and be seen get out there to the public.
In what ways do your identities as an author and entrepreneur complement or clash with or each other?
That's a very interesting question. How do they complement and clash with each other? I think in some ways they complement in the way that I am I'm a very driven, focused person, and you do have to be that when you start something like your own publishing company. You have to be driven, you have to be focused, you have to be willing to put in a lot of work. I start my day around 4 a.m. Sometimes I work until 10 and 11 at night. I'll get up early to write or edit or market before I go to my usual day job, which is as a nurse. So that part complements. What clashes is something really, and I'm just going to be totally honest with you on this, is really something like this. I'm
Hmm.
more of a person behind the person, I feel like, than somebody who likes to be in front of a camera. But I think you can, overcome whatever you might feel uncomfortable with by just continuing to do it until you become comfortable with it. This is actually only my third podcast. So,
Hmm.
so again, thank you for having me on.
Yes, congratulations. Keep up the good work.
I'm
Mr.
grateful too.
TL, keep up the good work.
Thank
What was
you.
the most significant obstacle you faced while building your careers? Or yeah, of course, careers. And how did you overcome it?
So I'm still overcoming it. So one of the most difficult thing is to have a publishing house, publishing group like Blue Round Book Group, and as well as creating something like Delilah versus the Ghastly Grim, where it's very mission driven and it's near and dear to my heart, very important to me, and I really want to make a difference to others with the book. It's definitely created some obstacles as far as how to really get it seen and get people reading it. I believe in the book. It's been through multiple edits to make sure that it's good and a solid book, and I've gotten great feedback. It's gotten 5-star reviews from like readers' favorite. It's won 3 different awards. It's gotten 5-star reviews from Literary Titan. I've gotten 5-star reviews from customers. So it's getting very good feedback. But at the same time, it's very hard when you are running a small independent publishing house to compete with someone, some of those big 5 companies that have 5 departments to do what you're doing by yourself. That
Yes.
creates significant barriers.
Yes. And again, congratulations for
Thank you.
doing your best, Miss TL.
That's all you can That's all you really can do, you put yourself out. That I think that's true for anyone, any writer out there who is watching your show right now. If you believe in your work, don't let anyone tell you that don't let anyone keep you from pursuing it. I think you have to really put yourself out there, get it read. There will be naysayers. There will be people who want to stand in your way. There will be people who may even be close to you who don't want to see you rise. But that doesn't
Yes.
mean you shouldn't pursue it. You should pursue it and just do your best to have, because in the end, this is a story written for a girl and with a seizure disorder who has been through a lot. In the end, this is all about her and children like her and other children who would enjoy it. And even if it makes one person happy, then it's worth it. My spouse, he's actually a YouTuber. He does horror movie reviews. He's on YouTube under Drum Duns, but his name is Lee. Um, he received a message from one of his followers who purchased the book. And the follower was talking about how he had a loved one who had seizures and how this book had meant something to him because it was near and dear to his heart because he lost this person to seizures. And so when you hear those stories, how a book and somebody's creative work can move another person, then in the end, that's really what you're doing it for. And so for all of you writers out there, ignore the naysayers. You
Yes.
go get your dreams.
Mm, definitely. Totally agree with you, Miss TL. If you have the passion to write, 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 and of course, stop procrastinating. Please share
Yeah,
your please share
I
your
will say
talent.
sometimes it's hard. It's hard not to procrastinate sometimes. And
True.
there's a reason too sometimes, like if you're having a writer's block, then it's really hard to kind of kick that back in.
Totally agree. Can you share a moment when a professional setback in one field taught you a critical lesson from the other?
A professional setback. So I guess a professional setback would be we have I'm married to military and I was in the Air Force. And it was a professional setback when we met really because what ended up happening is we had to kind of decide what was going to happen as far as could we stay together or one person had to get out of the military. And I ended up getting out of the military and we would move from place to place every, around every 3 years. That had a significantly negative impact on my career. So I viewed it as a professional setback because it was very difficult to go from place to place and get a new job every time, kind of reinvent yourself. And sometimes we would get put in these locations where there wasn't enough work. And at the time I viewed it as something negative. But now that I'm a little bit older, I actually realized what it gave me was all these opportunities to kind of reinvent myself. So I think when it comes to things like professional setbacks, you could look at it from like, this is a negative thing. I have to start over again. How am I supposed to build my career if this is always happening? But instead, if you tip it a little bit, you can look at it as, well, what's positive about it? What's positive about it is I'm gaining all these new skills. I'm meeting all these new people. And now that I'm writing, all of that actually helps because I have all these life experiences that I can pour into my work.
Indeed. Miss TL, what mission or message unifies your work across both writing and entrepreneurship?
Could you repeat that question for me?
What mission or message unifies your work across both writing and entrepreneurship?
Definitely, my mission is to produce works that will be more representative. I feel like there's a significant issue. I mentioned this earlier in the podcast that the one of the studies I read was that it was only 3.4%, and of course those numbers could have changed. I didn't go into a deep dive or anything on those numbers, but that was the last study that I had seen, and I felt like that really sparked this whole thing with entrepreneurship and writing the book. Um, uh, for especially writing a middle grade fantasy book, a children's book. I was not intending to write a children's book. I was 100% intending to write an adult book, an adult thriller, based off being a psych nurse because I, experienced a great deal being a psych nurse. But no, it definitely created this mission now, and I feel very passionate about it, and I almost feel like it's divine. There was an incident that kind of made me feel that way. When I was writing the book, Delilah travels from one area to another on a boat called the Nord. And I didn't come up with that name arbitrarily. I actually dreamt it. So I dreamt that she was on this boat called the Nord, and I wrote that into the book. And then after I had already sent the book in for editing and stuff like that, I started to do some research and some outreach. I came across an organization, the Nord, and they are involved in helping those with disabilities. And I said, it really felt like this whole thing, I was almost divinely guided into doing this. And I used to be a school director for a school for children with disabilities before I ever had a grandchild who was disabled. So it was almost like I was meant to do something like this, and it's becoming more and more obvious to me with these signs that kind of show up, like this is a passion project for me, and I feel like I'm guided to do it.
Miss TL, as a founder and award winning and best selling author, as a nurse, what are your short term and long term goals?
Well, my short-term goals are really to try and get Delilah versus the Ghastly Grim read and in the hands of readers. The book, on a shelf means nothing. I want children to enjoy it. I want them to gain from it. It is a high concept book. Every decision made that was put into the book has meaning. Kids may not pick up on the meaning, but an adult should be able to pick up on some of the meanings. I put very specific plants in there, and some of those plans are actually designed to move me into my long-term goal, which is to write the second and possibly third book. So that is my goal. And as part of these two goals would be to kind of spread awareness and empowerment to kids with disabilities and hopefully encourage other writers to write things for kids with disabilities so that they can have better representation, because there is a problem. There's not enough inclusion, and so that is something that has to be addressed, and it can't be just addressed by me. It has to be addressed by society as a whole and writers who are willing to do it.
Well, good luck to your goals, Miss TL. Looking for more and more success and more business to come, more books to come, and hoping for the best. What will be your advice for those people out there who want to be an author to like you? Award winning and best selling author.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, I guess my advice is keep writing. And, even if you have people in your life or people, or if you have fears about it, because sometimes it's scary to put yourself out there. Writing can be quite vulnerable. You're sharing things about, I think every writer puts a little bit of themselves, at least a little bit of themselves, sometimes a lot more, into the stories that they tell. So when you put a book out there, you risk, somebody coming back and saying, I didn't like that. And then that can hurt you. But the truth is this, not everybody's going to connect with whatever story you're telling. And so that really doesn't matter. What matters is that you connect with the ones that are right for that story and you're making a difference with others. So don't let fear stop you from writing. Don't let procrastination stop you from writing. Don't let the fact that you might not get traditionally published stop you from publishing. There are avenues out there. Amazon offers print on demand. So self-published authors are growing in number. They've actually are some tradition used to be traditionally published are now being published as self-published authors because they tend to do better that way. So there are options out there for you, even if doors close. You know what they say, if a door closes, a window opens. There are windows
Mhm.
open for you. So maybe like check the window. If a door is closed, and check that window because there are opportunities for you. I will say, like, if you're going to write something, try to have it read by others so that they can give you feedback. When I wrote Delilah versus the Ghastly Grimm, I actually asked for the harshest feedback that I could get. And I said, tear it apart. Tell me everything that you see is wrong with it. And then I went through the notes and went through with, do I agree? Do I disagree? I wanted the true and honest feedback. And I asked for that from my editors. And I will say, ask for that so that you can like then look at it and be like, do I have to make, is it worthy to make a change? Because sometimes in our mind we have all the answers written out in our head, but it may not translate into the book. So I would say make sure others are reading your work too, so that you can get some feedback, and not just friends and family that might just tell you what you want to hear.
Thank you for your advice, Miss Theo, and I hope people will follow you. How do you hope your books and ventures will impact your industry or community long term?
Long term, I hope that people, one, children and adults too, because really it can be read by adults. It's really a fantasy, so it can be read by anyone. I hope that they find joy and fun out of the book, and that it empowers people. That is my long term goal and my overall arching goal. To really kind of create something that will make a difference in this world. I feel like I went into a service field like nursing and education for a reason, because I really do want to help others as much as I possibly can. And I'm hoping my writing is just a continuation of that.
Are there uncharted creative or business territories you're eager to explore next?
Uncharted territories. First, I have to get through this. But what? Sure. I think that once you accomplish one area, there's always another area that you might want to try. One of the things I have been dabbling with is kind of looking at AI for creating videos. I would absolutely love to learn more about that. Now, when it came to Delilah versus the Ghastly Grimm, I was very strict about AI. Like when the illustrator, I said absolutely no AI could be used. And the same thing with the words in my book. I really wanted to be super strict. I did not want AI to be a part of that. But like as far as making promotional videos and stuff like that, I would like to kind of look into how to learn to do that. And I think it's going to be the wave of the future for marketing. So that would be something that I would like to learn as a business, on the business side of it. Not necessarily on the creative side of it, but on the business side of it, I feel like it could be a valuable tool.
A business indeed. What's your philosophy for prioritizing projects when creative inspiration and business deadlines compete?
So it's by importance. So how important is one thing over another? So what kind of impact will it have? What is the importance of that impact? So it definitely would be importance. I am unfortunately one of those people who will kind of work around the clock and not get enough rest. It will. It has created some issue with this particular book, where I got sick because of that. But I think that you do have to learn how to prioritize and maybe get help from others. I've been fortunate in the way that my spouse has been helpful and some friends have been helpful and family. So you sometimes have to depend on others and allow your a loss of control, I guess, sometimes, which is very difficult when you're starting your business and you're protective of a creative project. Like I was saying, like I'm very protective of Delilah versus the Ghastly Grimm. I'm very protective of Blue Round Book Group. That's why I was so like when I went to find my illustrator, I was like, absolutely no AI can be used. I don't want it to touch it, so and a lot of illustrators do appreciate that, but I think that there are also other illustrators when I went to look for like promo videos, I couldn't find any that didn't use AI. So it's definitely something that has come into play with this where I'm trying to figure out like which avenues to take and how to prioritize those.
Miss TL, how do you adapt your work to stay relevant in rapidly changing creative and business landscapes?
So staying relevant is definitely going to be important. So even though Delilah versus the Ghastly Grimm had an initial early release that proved successful where it landed on, three different lists for Amazon. It was children's epilepsy health, epilepsy, and metaphysical and visionary fantasy, I believe it was. So even though it landed on those bestseller lists, and I don't know if it's still on there or not, but you have to stay relevant in order for the book to really get into the hands of a large group of people, which is the goal. Because I'm not just writing it for friends and family, I'm writing it for everyone, for all kids. So you have to find a way to make sure that the story that you're telling is going to be a lasting story. It's not going to be a flash in the pan. Otherwise, you'll lose that. You won't stay relevant, and that is a concern. So I feel like I was strategic in that, where I did think about the decisions that I was making so that it wasn't something that would just be like this temporary moment where it might shine and then not continue on. No, I'm trying to think ahead a few steps to stay relevant and to also help with the as far as the business goes, so that when we start working with other authors, we can find those that are kind of on the same page and will produce works that stand the test of time and won't just be a flash in the pan.
Miss DL, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, book 101 review in fifth season, comedy 101 in second season too, food 101 is in fifth season as well, geography 101 and love letters in third season, and my baby podcast, Mental Health 101, Movie 101 Review and Music 101 in its fourth season, and Science 101 and Sex 101 in its first season. Please do listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. Miss TL, what does your journey teach about the power of merging storytelling with enterprise?
My journey, well, I think that everyone will follow a different journey. And so for me in particular, I really wanted to get something out there that I could make be as I envisioned. So when you start a company like a book group, you are the one who makes the decisions as to what actually ends up being available to the public. If you go more of a traditional route, a lot of times there are others who have a say. So that's the way to merge, you know, a business with writing, where you can create something and it truly be your vision that is not controlled by somebody else. And if that is your goal, then being an independent or self-published writer might be something that is very good for you and would be something I would recommend to those writers out there who are seeking to really have their story remain their story and not influenced by other people's viewpoints.
Miss TL Mccoy, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge to the world. So
Thank you
can
for
you,
having me.
yeah, so can you please invite our listeners to support your business? to support your books as well as your any kind of projects that you are doing right now?
I would be extremely grateful to have anyone who's interested in reading middle grade fantasy, especially inclusive books that feature children with disabilities, to pick up a copy of Delilah versus the Ghastly Grimm on Amazon.com. It's available right now, it's on sale. Usually it'll be a little bit more expensive, but right now it is on sale. The hard copy will be coming out, it will be available through Ingram Spark, and then I'm going to also try and make it available through some other online retailers as well. So pick up your copy today. I hope you enjoy it. I hope that your kids enjoy it, and please spread the word. And if you have picked up your copy, please be sure to leave a review. It helps more than you know.
Yes, people, let's support Miss TL Mccoy because if you support her, more and more and more empowering books like this to come. So, Miss TL, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for sharing your podcast. I look forward to looking at some of those, especially the mental health one, because I'm a psych nurse.
Yes, indeed. Marticon people, see you soon.
Bye. Thanks.